joy and success. Every day is a chance for happiness. Yes, we can live a beautiful, crazy plan. Every day is a celebration. Every day is a celebration. Every day is a celebration.
Hello and welcome to the Great Song Adventure. I'm Paul Zolo and I'm here with my co-host Louise Goffin.
And I'm here too with my co-host Paul Zolo.
It makes two of us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And we're here for part two of our interview with Chrissie Hynde. This is an archival interview from 2008. And it was recorded over the phone on a cassette. So the finest audio equipment I could get. But I'm so glad we could listen to it again. And it's Chrissie. And there's no one quite like Chrissie.
It's so great you talked to her about the inspiration behind some of her most famous songs. It's amazing to get to hear what brought them about.
Yeah, some songs always mysterious, like Brass in Pocket, what exactly it meant. We always loved it, but we weren't sure what it meant. Like some of those Beatles songs, we didn't know all those words, and she explains it in this, which is really wonderful. So let's hear. This is part two with Chrissie Hynde on the Great Song Adventure.
There are so many artists in music, popular music history, that had one great song that we love, and for that they're important. But there are a few of you that have written a lot of great songs that still are as great as they were 20 years ago. And that, to a songwriter, that's a big one, to write so many songs that people cherish so much.
Well, I haven't written that many. Come on, I'm not like Dylan or Neil Young. I'm still in the minor league.
Well, Dylan, I mean, to compare yourself with Dylan, I mean, he's such an exception.
Yeah, well, no one can compare themselves with him.
But, I mean, compared to many songwriters, you've written a lot more. I mean, just in terms of hits, which is the way a lot of songwriters measure success, you've had a lot more hits than most songwriters that are around.
Well, I could use one now, but, you know, I haven't had one for years. I mean, I went in and wrote I'll Stand By You with Tom and Billy, and that was a cold-blooded mission to get on the radio.
Oh.
I was ashamed of it, to be honest.
Is that right?
But then some people that I really liked said they liked it, so it kind of made me like it.
I like it, and I know Steinberg and Kelly, and I was surprised to... Yeah, they're great guys. But I was surprised to hear that you were working with them. I remember at the time, it's like, wow, I wouldn't expect Chrissie to want to work with them. So how did that happen?
The thing is, if you're in the game for a while, all the things that you never wanted to do, if you thrive on change, and you like new things and change, and I do like change, and I like traveling and moving a lot, well, eventually you start running out of things that you haven't done.
Yeah.
And the only things that left that you haven't done are the things that you never really wanted to do.
So you wrote I Stand By You as a record to be a hit?
Yeah, and I was ashamed because I'd never done that before. I never did anything and, you know, really making an attempt to be commercial or to get on the radio. But it was starting to hurt that I was doing stuff and nothing was on the radio. Because I love radio. To me, radio is everything. Always was. I grew up on radio. And the radio is always there for everyone, although that could be changing now with computers.
Yeah.
Everything's changing now.
It is changing.
Yeah, so...
I mean, it used to be we'd listen...
It's kind of exciting. I'm not saying it's better. I'm under no illusion whatsoever that things are getting better or that... or we're progressing. We're definitely not progressing. You know, the dumbing down of this society, I don't know how much lower it can go.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's definitely, that's the direction it's going in. If
But,
we get rid of these factory farms and slaughterhouses, we might have a chance to, you know, have a little bit of peace. But I just don't think it's on the cards.
It's interesting to me, though, that you wrote that song to be a hit, because I think many songwriters get on that road. Like, how do I write a hit? And it didn't seem like you've ever done that in your career, or you've done it since.
No, I've never done it. I did it then. It was only when I met Noel Gallagher and he said I wished I'd fucking wrote it. And then, you know, Jeff Beck loves it, you know, and I thought, fucking hell, if he likes it. I mean, it is melodically, it's got some nice things in it.
Yeah.
It's a good song.
It is.
It was just, like I say, it was just cold-blooded attempt on my part, and I had never done that before.
Well,
So I felt a bit...
Did you do something differently in that song, or were you trying something that would be different to make it a hit? I mean...
Not particularly.
Yeah, I was just wondering how you would conceive of what you should do to write a hit as opposed to writing a great song.
Writing with Tom and Billy, you know, they were hit makers.
Yeah.
That in itself was a step in that direction. But I have to say it was a blast, and I loved writing with them. It was really, really fun.
Did the three of you all sit in the room and write at the same time?
Well, mainly it was kind of more of a thing of me and Tom ganging up on Billy and trying to torture him. So, I'd kind of just drink tea and go out and buy chocolate and hang out and keep thinking of things I had to go out and buy. And, I'd stay at the Chateau Marmont and I'd drive to Encino every day to Palms. I hated that drive.
Yeah.
And then when Billy would arrive with his little poems, and he'd show them to me, and then I'd just pace and eat and drink and get more chocolate and just goof around for hours until you could tell that Billy was getting really nervous.
Yeah.
And then Tom would say, "But Billy, can't you see she's trying to surround the moment?" We even hid from him once behind some curtains with knives, and we're going to attack him when he came in. But my dog gave us our hiding place away.
Yeah. That's funny.
But, that was some of the most fun times of my life was just like, trying to torture Billy. But I mean, I make no, secret of my sort of sadistic tendencies. But, and Tom, I just loved working with Tom and Billy. They're fantastic. I'd love to write with them again.
Yeah, they're good songwriters. Did you work?
They're just so much fun.
Was Tom at the piano playing? Is that how you wrote it? So you didn't use guitar?
Tom would be at the piano. And I was like kind of right in the middle of them. So I would put in musical ideas and change lyrics and lyrical ideas or bastardize poor Billy's, sentimental little offerings and things.
Were you playing guitar too, or just without the guitar?
Sometimes,
Yeah.
I mean, we wrote quite a few songs together. They were all done in different ways.
Normally when you write, do you come up with an idea first, what you want to say in a song, before you sit down and start writing something?
I think more traditionally it's been born of sitting there with the guitar and like just strumming, and this is the guitar. Sometimes I just, my limited guitar skills, I just could bury my head and cry. But and then other times, I come up with something that I think is, just a couple notes and it sounds great. It's always changing.
Yeah. So when you're writing a song, though, do you generally finish a musical idea first and then kind of fill in the lyrics, or is it all music and words at the same time?
No, I don't know. I can't even say.
Yeah.
It's more like a jigsaw puzzle, and it doesn't make any sense until you find that last piece.
Yeah, sure.
I know. I hate to make it sound so pretentious and
yeah, I understand that.
Fairy, but it is like that. Sometimes you don't even know what. I mean, I've even had I don't know. So it has to make sense, though. I know that much. It has to make sense, or it doesn't work.
Oh. So
that's why it's kind of embarrassing when people will say, like, "What's that song about?" The first thing I'll think is, "Oh, fuck," they don't know what the song's about, so the song was a failure if it didn't make itself clear.
Right. And yet you don't want to be too obvious in songs. You want them to be singable and.
Totally. I mean, that's the beauty of a song. It's just like 3 minutes, but, you can just pack so much into it. It's just got everything in it. I mean, the great songs that I like,
When you're writing...
This is the one I was singing the other day with some friends. You Sexy Thing by Hot Chocolate.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, why is that song so absolutely fucking likable? His voice is just perfect. It's got just... it's just great. It's like the perfect song. It's the perfect pop song.
Yeah. A lot of it is the rhythm, and your songs are very rhythmically generated a lot.
Yeah, I always feel like you couldn't dance to Pretenders records. That's one of my sort of secret shames.
Oh, I don't think that's true.
Oh, I hope so. I hope it's not true.
Yeah, a lot of them are very danceable.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Do you enjoy it when you're writing songs? Is it an enjoyable process for you?
Yeah. When it's getting somewhere, it's really enjoyable. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It's the best thing in the world. But when it's not getting somewhere, it's really, you want to put a gun in your mouth.
Yeah. Well, when it's not going somewhere, do you sit there and try to force it, or do you just go away and not push?
I don't know.
I understand your reticence, because I know you...
I just don't know what to say. It depends on how much pot I'm smoking, how many bottles of wine I've drunk. It's usually just like, in a puddle on the floor in the morning.
Yeah.
And was a waste of time. But, once in a while it works.
Yeah. By that, do you mean you don't stay very conscious of what you're doing? I mean, paying attention to it? It just kind of happens?
I just usually, it's more in my head, If I don't remember what I had in my head 2 weeks ago, it's gone forever.
Oh.
So I just keep going over it and over it in my head. And
So
if I do pick up the guitar, I'll go back to that song. So it could happen really fast, or it could take 30 years, like this on Boots of Chinese Plastic, which I had the original idea for the song, and it started out, it was kind of like a Mose Allison song.
I love Mose.
Well, everyone does. I mean, that's what The Who and the Kinks, all their songs were Mose Allison songs.
Yeah.
That was the way they structured all of them.
Uh-huh. Well, it's interesting you mentioned him, because he said to me the same thing. He says, if it was a good idea, I won't forget it. And if I forgot it, it wasn't worthwhile. Whereas a lot of songwriters think, no, you should tape because you might lose something great.
Well, he's really sharp, you know. He's one of the greats. So
Yeah.
I don't think we're all in that class.
I mean, the truth is you've written songs that are beloved to way more people than Mose Allison has. I know that's probably not
How
something
do you know
want
that?
that would be my estimation. I could be wrong. Okay. Regardless of that.
Some paltry guess.
But regardless of that, you've never had a...
But then look at how Mose Allison influenced the Kinks and the Who, and how many people that, you know... So
I'm not meaning to put down Mose. I mean, I love
yeah,
Mose.
of course not. I mean,
Yeah.
I know you're not.
Uh,
And I appreciate, you know, you're trying to say something nice, but...
but my question is, like, you've never had a time when you had an idea for a song, like, gee, I should write something about that, and come back to it, you know, maybe a while after that?
The worst thing is when you're in that twilight moment when you're kind of falling asleep,
Uh-huh.
because for some reason that seems a really fertile moment creatively,
Yeah.
and I'll be going over a song arrangement, or I'll think of an idea for a song, and it's happened to me quite a few times where I think, well, that's just the best thing I've ever thought, ever. But I'm just too tired to get up and, you know, find a pen and a notebook and turn the lights on and get the guitar. And I think, I believe in it so much, and I think I'll just remember it in the morning. And I wake up and I have no idea, no recollection of it. And that's bummed me out a few times. But, you know, fuck it. You know, they're only songs.
But I think that time is fertile because you're getting away from the world. And as a songwriter, you kind of have to get away from the world. Do you find that? Or can you write when you're on tour and when there's a lot of activity around you?
Not really, no.
Yeah.
But those, I guess, you know, all those mundane activities are, you know, kind of informing your songs anyway. Like Break Up the Concrete. That was obviously when I was on tour and I just couldn't stand seeing any more concrete. That was an obsession.
Yeah.
And then my tour manager told me that something like the size of the Hoover Dam worth of concrete was poured every day, or some ridiculous statistic which he came up with.
Yeah.
But, you know, that became almost a mantra as I was in my tour bus so I thought, well, I better make a song out of this, because otherwise it was a complete waste of, you know.
Well, how did that idea, Break Up the Concrete, come together with that rhythm? You know, it's like a Bo Diddley beat.
Yeah, it was supposed to be Buddy Holly, but, you know, it was all the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, was that an afterthought? Maybe I should set it like this, or did that just happen at the same time?
Well, that whole project happened pretty quick, because, you know, I had those songs knocking around in my head for a while, and when I got in with the band, we had one-day rehearsal without the drummer, and I just said, well, here's roughly how the songs are. And then we went in with the drummer the next day, and we recorded everything in, like, about 10 days. So we didn't even know this stuff. I just said, right, this is how it goes. And we did 2 a day. So
that's interesting, thinking of that song, because you sing the rhythm, you know, before the band kicks in, you know, in those breaks. So.
Well, that's because I was just trying to run them through the song and tell them how it went.
That's funny.
But then when we went back in to listen to it, and, you know, I was producing it, but I said, you know, produced by pretenders. But I was the only one that knew how it was supposed to sound. So I would kind of tell them, I don't know if you've heard the Break Up the Concrete album, but like
Yeah.
Okay, at the end of one song you hear Jim Keltner, who obviously is, you know, one of the gods.
Yeah.
And at the end of the song, you can hear him going, oh, I'm just getting worse and worse now. And I laughed my ass off when I heard that, so I insisted that had to be on the record. Of course, Keltner was horrified. But then when we came in and listened to Chinese Plastic, and you could hear me going, deck, 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 because I said, you know, of course I was like, you know, mortified listening back to it. And everyone else was laughing. They said, oh, we definitely have to keep that in. I was like, oh, give me a break. And they said, no, we have to keep it in.
Oh, that's cool.
Because I had got my way.
Yeah.
So at that point, it became sort of like a lurid free-for-all. Like, you can hear me clearing my throat and coughing and stuff. And I said, just leave it all fucking in.
Yeah, and it sounds great. And it probably wouldn't have sounded that good if you were intentionally putting it on the track like that.
Well, I don't think anyone would intentionally put that kind of shit on a track.
Also, having Keltner play, I mean, that track, you know, you don't need much else because he's so good. Just the drums by itself sounds so great.
It's awesome. This guy I'm working with in the Fairground Boys is really, really good, too. It's a thrill to work with these guys.
Yeah.
And Martin Chambers is like the best live drummer and the most entertaining drummer ever. I mean, to turn around on stage every night and watch him.
Yeah?
Because he always, if I turn around, he'll always do something. You know, he's kind of like a comedian, too.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the most touching things about watching the DVD is seeing you, and he's right behind you. And all these years later, the core of the band is there.
Yeah, weird.
You know, I wanted to ask you, why is it you never wanted to go solo? Unlike so many of your peers who made a point of, like, starting a solo career, you've always been the pretenders.
Because I like working in a band.
Yeah.
I've never joined a club, but I definitely love bands.
Yeah.
And I feel that as a singer, my position, my place in life is to set up a guitar player and make them look great.
Mm.
And I guess that's how football works. I mean English football. You know, you're always setting up the other player to get a goal.
But, you know, you could have a great backup band and be Chrissie Hynde, and still have a band.
Who wants to see that shit?
All your fans. But,
you know, they'll take what they get.
Yeah. No, we're happy to. There's something beautiful about that. It's the pretenders.
Well,
but
it's a band. It is a band, and we do, you know, I need those guys. I mean, you know, it turns me on to be standing on stage next to a great guitar player.
Yeah.
And watching James every night was a fucking riot.
Yeah.
You know, he was always different. He always pulled something out that we hadn't heard or did something or, you know, it's great. And if one of the guys make a mistake, it's just fucking great because they're all the musicians. I make mistakes all over the place.
Really?
And if one of them make a mistake, they're so mortified, and I enjoy that so much. It's just fun.
Yeah. It's such a...
How can you not have fun in a rock band?
Well, I guess if you didn't have great songs, I mean, you got great songs to play. That's a big part of it.
Well, that's a nice thought, but, you know, I've got great players around me, too.
Yeah. But I think it'd be a lot of fun to play those songs. I mean, it's one thing about your songs is that, like a great song, like a Dylan song, you're saying a lot, but it's a great song to sing, and, you know, it's got a lot of rhythm and great melodies.
Well, I think music should make you dance.
Yeah.
But, you know, like I said, I'm still working on that. I feel I haven't done, you know, anything that great yet, so I guess that's what motivates me, because I'll look back on some things and I think, oh, God, that was shit.
Wow.
And then I think I better do something good to make up for it.
Well, the truth is, I mean, among songwriters, and I'm a songwriter myself, you have a reputation of not ever having done anything that sucked, as opposed to a lot of people that threw out.
I won't name any names at the moment of work of mine, which I'd rather you weren't aware of.
Huh, okay.
I don't want you to be aware of it.
Yeah.
Believe me.
Though I do know some of your fans that only want you to rock out. They don't like when you did Hymn to Her, which I think is a beautiful song. It's like, no, I just want... Pardon me?
I didn't write that one. A friend from high school wrote that one.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right.
No, but it's a great song. You're right.
Yeah.
I wish I wrote it.
Yeah. But some don't want ballads or tenderness from you. They want just rock and roll.
Mm-hmm. Well, they can go fuck themselves. But, you know, I mean, yes, I have been criticized. Frankly, no one wants a bunch of ballads, let's face it, you know, and you don't want... When people go through their householder years and they start having kids and stuff, it does quite, you know, ruin the mix for a while.
Yeah, which is great that you still...
You know, you're in a nice place and you're preoccupied, and it all goes kind of soft. It's not very rock anymore.
Yeah. And yet...
You have to keep digging deeper over the years.
Huh.
Because when you've got youth and you've got a lot of drugs and a lot of sex and alcohol and stuff, you know, it's a no-brainer. Anyone can do it.
Hmm.
But when those things start to fall away and you're trying to clean up your act and not be addicted, then you just have to dig deeper.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's hard to do in rock and roll, because sometimes I've gone on stage with the band and we're so horribly hungover that we're all shaking and actually afraid to go on stage.
Yeah.
And you think, well, I'll never, ever do this again. This is horrible. And then you come off stage, and one of your more ardent fans who were at the show call you in the parking lot and say, that's the best show you've done in the last 4 years. And then you think, oops. Or maybe we do have to go out and get completely arseholed again.
You know, we were talking about Mose Allison.
For the sake of our art.
we mentioned Mose Allison. He said the same thing. He said sometimes he'll feel terrible, and someone will play him a tape of the show, and he said he was really surprised how good it was. I mean, there's a part of you that connects with it, even if you're feeling terrible, if your body's feeling bad.
Yeah, well, you know, none of us wanted to go watch that DVD. In fact, we were in New York, and the filmmakers from Canada had come down, and they were supposed to show it, and it was all arranged, and we were going to go and approve it, because they can't put it out until we approve it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I was so hungover, I called my manager, and I said, I can't face it, because I never can watch myself back or even listen back to myself. I've learned how I have to do that to make records.
Yeah.
And I can never watch a performance, television, anything. I just can't.
Huh.
And so I was so fucked up in the morning, I called my manager, who was also over to watch it, and I said, look, Gail, I just can't watch it. I don't think I can face it. I just can't watch myself. I can't do it. I'll just get too depressed. And she said, well, you have to. And I was like, oh, can't you guys just watch it? I'm sure it'll be fine. There's nothing I can change anyway now. It's already done, so why do I have to watch it? She goes, well, you just do. Because you have to approve it or they can't put it out.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, and then I met the guys in the lobby, and we walked over to this place, and everyone else was looking pretty green around the edges like I was.
Uh-huh.
And I could see that everyone also was dreading it. And we thought it was fucking great.
It was great.
So, you know, that was a big surprise. So that's
Wow.
my
It's funny
return
how
to your Mose Allison story.
I would watch it and think that you watched like many performances and chose this one specifically because you liked it so much.
No.
Yeah.
In fact, I only watched it that one time, too, so maybe it wasn't that great.
Huh.
But I think we were all so horrified and, you know, not wanting to see it that, you know, it was the only way was up from where we were, how we were feeling that morning. So.
Wow. So even the guys in the band didn't want to see it.
No, everyone was too fucked up.
Wow.
You know, a day off.
Yeah, sure. You know, you've been talking about drugs, and a lot of people that were good musicians, you know, just burned out or killed themselves with drugs, and yet it never seemed to wreck you. I mean, how are you able to survive through that as an artist?
That's a $64,000 question. Who knows?
Yeah.
Thank my lucky stars. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
How can anyone answer that? You know, I just didn't quite OD.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned a long time ago that Brian Jones was someone you really cared about. Was there part of you that romanticized that kind of lifestyle where you ultimately, you know, die young?
To die young?
I don't even know why I asked that question. That's not important.
No, not to die. You know, I mean, we just love bands.
Yeah.
Dying young was really not the thing. I mean, Jimmy Scott, my guitar player, died when he was 25.
Yeah.
So, let's see, what else?
Well, I'll wrap this
What
up
else can I tell you?
quickly. I've been kind of nervous. I've been having a hard time getting my questions out. Would it be okay for you, as we wrap up, if I just named a bunch of your songs and you just gave me your response to what you feel about that song or any thoughts about the song?
Yeah, can I throw up?
Of course. If
Okay,
that's your
no, all right, yeah, whatever.
Okay.
Do your thing.
Okay. Brass in Pocket?
Well, I said that would go out over my dead body.
Really?
That was my famous quote.
You didn't like it, huh?
I didn't like it because I didn't think it knew what it was. I thought it sounded like it was trying to be a Motown song, but it didn't quite get it. Didn't quite make it.
You wrote it with James Honeyman Scott, the two of you together?
He had the little ding, 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 ding. He was playing it in the studio, and I thought, wow, that's awesome. And I just happened to have a tape recorder and taped it. That's one time I did. I wish I'd done it more, but that's how I did it with him a few times.
Oh.
But now I like the song because, you know, it's one of those songs that you can say it served me well. Even though I wasn't that, you know, I didn't think it was, I didn't like my voice on it.
Yeah.
You know, I was kind of a new singer, and listening to my voice made me kind of cringe.
You said one time that you thought
I
people
don't
would...
want to say all this negative stuff, you know, because if people hear me saying this negative stuff, they'll start to believe it too.
Right, exactly. We love these songs. But it's interesting, that song you once said, people think you're that person, but that's not who you are, the character in that song. Well,
that was me trying to write, you know, although I love the anti-establishment nature of rock and roll, and that's why I got into it, because I didn't want to be part of the establishment. I still have this kind of thing. You know, the thing about rock is there's rules, but there's no rules.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the rules is there's a kind of tradition, like Wayne Fontana and the Mindbender, when, you know, the purpose of a man is to love a woman. And so I went and wrote Message of Love, and I took the title Message of Love from Jimi Hendrix. Like 2,000 Miles comes from Otis Redding.
Uh-huh.
And I always want to pay tribute to my heroes, and I always think everyone's going to see that straight away, and then when no one mentions it, I think, fuck, someone out there will think I just plagiarized this person and tried to get away with it. I think they're so obvious when I do that.
Or they won't even know. They'll have no idea of the Hendrix then.
I guess. It wouldn't have occurred to me that someone wouldn't have known that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Brass and Pocket, I thought, it's all right. I like it.
It's an interesting title. Why did you choose that instead of calling it, Make You Notice or something like that?
Because I heard someone asking if some guys in a band from up north in England, one of them taking their suit to a dry cleaner, and he said, I can't do the accent, but he said, was there any brass and pocket?
Huh. Oh, that's wonderful.
And I just hadn't heard that. I just thought it was a good turn of phrase.
Yeah. It's funny if there's a song like that where you don't think maybe you've been that clear. Part of it that we like is the mystery. I remember hearing that the first time, not being quite sure what you meant, but I liked that I wasn't sure. It was.
Brass and pocket. And it says got bottle. Bottle is Cockney rhyming slang.
Oh.
It means bottle and glass.
Uh-huh.
And the way Cockney rhyming slang works is the word that you're really saying, it rhymes with the second word. So bottle and glass rhymes with ass.
Right.
In England, to say someone has a lot of ass means they have a lot of front. So you say that guy has a lot of bottle. And there's also reference in that to Robert Crumb. It's So Reet.
Yeah.
Another one of my heroes, Robert Crumb.
Ah, me too.
And, yeah, this is fucking me rambling. Like I said, I just about got away with it in that song.
Well, you mentioned Message of Love. And musically,
and the other thing about Brass and Pocket,
yes.
The tradition of it is that you're supposed to be kind of cocky and sure of yourself. You're not supposed to get on stage and say, oh, I'm so small and I have no confidence and I think I'm shit, because you just can't do that on a stage.
Yeah.
And you're not supposed to. And probably you don't have much confidence and you do think you're a little piece of shit, or else you never would have gotten a rock band in the first place. But the nature of the stage, where you're already like 7 feet higher than everyone and they're looking up at you, you have to use that to your advantage.
Yeah, sure.
And so hence Brass and Pocket, which is more or less a big lie, I guess. I don't know.
A what? I'm sorry?
I said maybe it was just kind of, I don't know. Name another song. You probably wanted like a one-liner anyway.
No, that's more interesting, though. Message of Love. I mean, I love that musically that it's doing that thing in A and then it goes to the C, which is kind of a Beatle-y thing to do. Were you thinking in those terms, like we should go somewhere else here, or were you just letting it flow?
I can't remember.
Yeah, okay. Well, what's your response to Message of Love?
I don't, again, like I said, it was kind of my response to the purpose of a man is to love a woman. It's just kind of another rock tradition to address.
Uh-huh. How about Kid?
What about it?
One thing I like about Kid is that you kind of have a tough veneer, and yet that song is really pretty. It was like you were unafraid to do something pretty. Was there part of you that felt, that has two minds about those, like singing such a pretty melody?
Well, I don't know. That's an odd song because that was a song that was kind of almost like I'm not really a storyteller. Usually I'm more, God, I'm so fucking lame talking about this shit.
Yeah, but don't worry.
More sort of autobiographical, I'm more expressing my real experiences, and that was more of a story about a prostitute whose little kid finds out, that she's a prostitute.
Wow. Huh.
But, it doesn't say that in the song, but if you listen to the song, you'll understand that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Maybe that song doesn't work because you don't know that. But then we don't know what Otis Redding was talking about when he said, I've been loving you for, too long and I can't stop now and your love's become a habit to me. Is he talking about heroin or is he talking about a woman? Who knows?
Right. And that song does work. I didn't know that, but I think I've always been very moved by the song.
What, I've been loving you too long?
No, Kid. The melody, but also the words. I mean, that sentiment, even though without knowing those details, the sentiment comes across. That, what you're saying definitely comes across.
And I use a lot of English expressions that probably, when I think about it, as an American, I know that it's kind of almost a different language. Like in that song, it says, your tears are too dear. dear means expensive.
Yeah,
They cost too much.
right.
But I know from an American point of view, are too dear, as in it might just not make sense or sound really stupid. But fuck it.
And we've
They
been
try to
listening.
change it.
We've been listening to, all these British songwriters for so many years. We know a lot of those terms
Yeah, I suppose
from them.
so.
I mean, would your music have been a lot different, do you think, if you didn't go to England and live there?
Totally. Well, I would have been different because I would have put a bullet in my head. So it would have been very different. It would have been played on harps.
Mm. Wow. How about Back on the Chain Gang?
That was a song I was writing, and I had showed Jimmy Scott some of the chords and that I was working on this song, which he liked, and then he died, and it turned into more of a tribute to him.
Mm. That song, so much of it is the sound of the record and the guys doing those sounds. Do you think in terms of the record while you're writing the song, or does that come later?
No, that comes later.
I see. That one has such a great riff, too. I mean, do you come up with riffs, too, or is that just what the guitarists do?
That's more the guitar player, I suppose, which is why I don't use my own name on the things. Because, their contribution is so great that I always keep it as a band thing.
Yeah, that's very unusual, too, to do that.
Why?
Well, a lot of songwriters, they want to take full credit for everything.
Oh, a lot of these cunts, they take credit for stuff they haven't even written.
Yeah, exactly.
It's shameful, really.
It is.
Horrible. Yeah, I mean, there's some that, if someone will send them a song, they'll say, I'll only perform your song if you give me half the songwriting.
Right. That's kind of an American tradition. I mean, Al Jolson did that, Elvis Presley. It's like, I want my name on the song as writer.
Well, that's...
Madonna.
Stealing. It's cheating. I don't like cheaters.
Yeah.
In fact, cheaters are the thing that I'm the most... This year I have a thing about cheaters. People that cut you up when you're driving. People who try to get the head of the line.
Yeah, yeah. Huh.
I don't want credit for anything else. I don't even want my name as a producer or anything necessarily because, hey, I'm a rock star. You can't get higher than that. Why do yourself down by saying that you did the artwork or that you're the producer?
Yeah, but it's common. I mean, even Lennon and McCartney, if Ringo came up with the title, Hard Day's Night, they wouldn't give him credit for the song or any credit.
Well...
And if Paul Simon gets upset that people think Garfunkel wrote the songs, that bothers him.
Well, I'm glad to say that other things bother me.
Yeah. How about Pop Star?
Oh, yeah, Popstar. No, I like that song. I don't think anyone else really got it.
I like it a lot.
That was I was trying to write a song in the, like, Get Off of My Cloud.
Yeah.
And Popstar is a very literal song, too. People that asked me about it, not that many people did, but when I had to do some press, they thought it was my take on, like, the new generation of singers.
Mm-hmm.
It was very literal. It was me going out with a guy, and then when we split up, he found, like, a younger, prettier version of me who wanted to be a pop star.
Oh.
As they always do, of course. And so it was really literal.
Mm.
I like that song a lot.
Yeah, I do,
David
too.
Johansen's on it.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great song.
He's done all these ad-libs in the end.
Oh.
I should have had him play harmonica. He's a much better harmonica player than I am.
Oh, you play really well on that, though. I was kind of surprised how well you play.
Yeah. I never practice or play. I should play more. I like it a lot. I've been doing that since I was a kid.
Oh. How about middle...
I never put, like, harmonica by Chrissie Hynde on it.
Yeah, but we know you're playing it, though, when we hear it.
Well, yeah, the inimitable sound.
It's kind of a Dylan-ish. I mean, he plays kind of in a similar style. How about the song Middle of the Road?
That's a real rip-off. That's a total Stones rip-off.
Oh, musically.
And I probably shouldn't say that, but fuck them. They ripped off so many people in their time.
Yeah, sure.
That was kind of my version of Empty Heart. Same chords, but there's only 4 chords anyway, so.
Right.
Middle of the Road. Yeah, no, that's another one about, exploitation and...
Well,
The middle of the road is referring to the Tao Te Ching, actually, the middle way.
Oh.
Always stay in the middle.
Oh.
That's another one of my sort of philosophical comments on...
It's interesting how differently we can take those ideas.
Yeah, well, like I said, I like to keep a veil over them.
Yeah. And yet, like a middle of the road, I think that's a great example of one of your kinds of songs. You're saying things that no one really said before in a rock song, which is like, hey, I'm 33 now, I have a kid, don't be jumping on me.
Yeah, I like singing that now. I'm 33 now that I'm 58. Fuck it. It's my stage. I can say what I want. And actually, at the time, I was only 32, but it didn't rhyme with the word I was looking for, so I said I was a year older. I used to always say I was older than I was anyway.
Really? It kind of reminds me of a Randy Newman song in that you're kind of, you're saying these things don't bother me, and yet you still refer to like the kids living in the corrugated, shacks. I thought of his song Rednecks when he said, I'm too dumb to even notice what's going on, and then he lists all the problems with racism.
Yeah, I just come back from the Far East, I think.
Oh.
Bangkok or something.
I appreciate it. I know you're really reticent to discuss songwriting and all, and I appreciate you getting into it. Thank you so much, Chrissie.
Okay.
Have a good day.
I'll
Bye.
see you soon.
That was Chrissie Hynde on the Great Song Adventure, the Zolo Archives. You did that interview in 2008, Paul?
I did. It's 10 years ago already. I can't believe it's been 10 years. And, she hasn't called me back yet, but I think she will. I'm pretty sure she will.
Oh, that's tough. Waiting for a call back
From Chrissie Hynde.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for listening to us today. We are the Great Song Adventure, and we will have more adventures for you to come. You can find us on Spotify at the Great Song Adventure playlist. You could also follow us on all those social media apps that you love, like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. Come on, what did I forget? There's 10 billion other...
Instagram, did you say that one?
Oh, yeah, I said Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.